Here along the front of our house, we have a set of citrus. In Canberra you get quite bad frost, so we can't have the citrus out in the garden. We've got them in pots against the northern face of the house. It just keeps them warm in winter time. You can see in winter time the leaves are not that beautiful glossy citrus leaf that you'd like, but they're fine, they've got the fruit, and they will improve when the temperature goes back above zero at night time. However, this one here is quite a different story. It looks like it might be just wintertime leaves, but can you see the texture there is quite different. It's kind of gone a leathery, and also can you see that the leaves are curling? So that's quite different, and some of the leaves are actually shriveling up. So that's not just winter, there's something else quite seriously wrong with this pot. So let's do a bit of investigation. All right, well, here's our problem. Usually it's a water-related problem, and you might think, oh, they're shriveling up, there's not enough water. Well, no, it's the exact opposite. Can you see here? It's pooling up, and the water has literally pooled right to the top of this pot. So that is the problem. The roots can't breathe when they're sitting in water, and the tree is literally suffocating there. And if we leave it like this tree will die. Here are the symptoms up close. As it gets very bad, they curl up totally on themselves and the leaves will just die. It's a 25-year-old Tahitian lime. It was given to me by my brother and sister-in-law when we first got married. It's been growing in pots next to the house for 25 years, giving us beautiful Tahitian limes. I really don't want this one to perish, so let's get in there and see what we can do to fix it. So there's a good lesson. Too much water is just as toxic for a plant as not enough. So the question to ask will be, why is it not draining like it should? A couple of things. The first one to check would be down the bottom there. Can you see it's sitting right against the soil? I usually have them sitting up on bricks, but as you can see, after many years it's come down. So either the soil is just touching the soil and there's no more drainage, or quite often the roots of the tree grow through any holes you've got at the bottom. So let's have a look at the bottom of this to see whether it's got enough drainage. So I've tipped it over on its side to investigate underneath to see what's happening. So I tipped it over and look how much water is just pouring out of the pot. It was absolutely waterlogged. So here's the underside of the pot now, fully exposed, and we have two problems. The first is, you'll see for such a big pot like this, it had two holes, one here and one here. So that was our first problem. It probably wasn't ever draining nicely. With a big pot like this, you need to drill extra holes in, and I don't know why I didn't do that at the time. Must have been busy. I would probably put at least 8 holes in a pot like this. It's pretty easy, you just drill them in. The second problem is that even the holes that we did have were not very big, and can you see what's happened? The plant felt that there was more soil through that hole, put roots through. The roots have gradually grown to be so big that they've blocked up the hole completely. That hole is completely blocked, and this one here is completely blocked with the roots. So there were only 2 holes. Both holes have been totally blocked. This pot has just become like a bucket, and eventually it's just filled up with water. We'll take some immediate action. Let's hope we can save it. We'll trim off the roots. Part of the problem has been this build-up of soil on the pavers that this pot used to sit on. So let's remove that. We'll add some new height to it. And then let's put it back. All right, then we've intervened quickly, done what we can. We put new drainage holes at the bottom. We emptied all the water out. We've removed any soil from underneath the pot. We've raised the pot back up. I've removed the irrigation. So now this pooling of water should be immediately stopped. One of the problems will be that having sat in that water for such a time, the fine roots of at the bottom of the pot have almost certainly rotted. And that's why we're starting to get these terrible symptoms at the top of the plant. So we will now have a much reduced root system for this little tree. It will then react by causing dieback of branches at the top so that it can balance itself out. So we're not out of the woods yet. If the tree lives, it's going to look pretty bad for at least 6 to 12 months. But I'm confident that we've done all right. In a couple of weeks, we'll turn the irrigation back on. I might add some sea salt, which will just stimulate new root growth. Stay tuned. We will be just following the convalescence and recovery of this tree after this operation. It's a special tree, this one, dear to our heart. These kind of things happen in life and in the garden. You've got to thank your lucky stars that you saw the symptoms, diagnosed the problem, took some decisive action, gave the best possible support to the little tree to convalesce and recover, and hopefully within a year or two it'll bounce back stronger than ever. That's life, and that's in the garden.